Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring something uh, really fundamental, I think, to understanding ourselves, the power of introspective writing.
Mm.
Really
Well,
looking at how deliberately engaging with our thoughts, on paper, can be a real catalyst for personal growth and, well, emotional clarity.
it's so crucial in our busy lives, isn't it?
Mm.
Finding that space for meaningful self-reflection sometimes feels like a luxury.
Right.
But as we've discussed before, it's truly an investment in our well-being. Today, we're focusing on how a dedicated approach to journaling can really unlock those deeper insights.
Exactly. We're asking, how can we cut through the mental clutter, the noise, and truly understand our inner landscape?
Yeah.
We've been examining some material from Lestallion, who, as many of you know, provide journals specifically designed to support this kind of deep work.
And they clearly get it. They understand that need for a trusted space, a place to really explore what's going on inside.
What's fascinating about Lestallion's approach is the intentionality behind their journal design.
Right. They recognize that without some structure, our attempts at introspection can sometimes feel scattered, maybe less productive.
Yeah, totally scattered.
It's easy for thoughts to just jump around or for strong emotions to feel overwhelming if we don't have, like, a framework.
And that's where the design of their journals comes in. Features like the 120 GSM thick pages, the numbered layouts, the built-in table of contents.
Hmm.
These aren't just nice additions, they're actual tools. Tools that can really transform how we engage in self-reflection.
So our aim today is to dive into why these features are so beneficial and how they can guide us towards genuine personal growth through writing.
Let's start by considering the core value of introspective writing itself. I mean, why is taking this time so important for our development?
Well, as Lestallion emphasizes, it's about creating a tangible record, something that lets us organize our thoughts, process emotions in a more deliberate way.
Absolutely. There's a real difference between having a thought just flit through your mind
Oh, yeah.
and actually committing it to paper. That act of writing, it externalizes it, gives you a little distance maybe, allows for a more objective look.
That's a great point. It can help us spot those recurring thought patterns, or maybe emotional triggers that might otherwise just operate under the radar.
But why do you think writing them down makes those patterns more visible? What's the mechanism there?
Well, I think the physicality of writing, or even typing, it forces a certain level of focus, doesn't it?
Yeah, it slows you down.
You have to slow down your thoughts, articulate them somehow. And this process, this translation from internal feeling to external words, it creates a space for the mind to observe itself.
Like holding up a mirror.
Exactly, like a mirror to your thoughts.
Mhm.
And when you have that record over time, the patterns become much clearer, almost like the data points on a chart.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Lestallion also points out how this isn't just about finding problems.
No, not at all.
By reflecting on past experiences, our responses, we can start to develop more effective ways of coping, build a stronger sense of inner resilience. It's like learning from our own history.
Precisely. That consistent engagement builds what Lestallion calls a resilient mindset. By looking at how we navigated difficulties before, what worked, what didn't, we kind of equip ourselves.
Right.
We get more confidence in handling future challenges. It's turning reflection into, well, personal learning,
Yeah.
development.
Okay, now, let's be real. The idea of just sitting down to reflect, that can feel like a hurdle sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
We've all faced that blank page, right? Mind racing, or maybe completely empty, or those intense emotions bubbling up with nowhere to go.
Yes, and Lestallion acknowledges these exact challenges. Trying to reflect without some kind of system, it's tough.
So without that structure, our introspection can get, well, overwhelmed by the very chaos we're trying to understand.
Exactly. Thoughts flit about, we rehash the same worries, get stuck in an emotion without processing it.
And inconsistency makes it worse, right?
Right.
If you only journal randomly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can lead to that disorganized feeling where reflection doesn't really lead anywhere deeper.
And that emotional overload part, that's significant. Sometimes touching on difficult feelings feels too much.
Yeah.
And without a way to navigate that through writing, we might just, avoid it. It feels aimless, like wandering in fog.
Good analogy.
So how does a dedicated journal notebook, like the ones Lestallion provides, actually help with these specific challenges?
Okay, so this is where the value of a dedicated space and consistent practice really shines. A Lestallion journal isn't just paper. It becomes a reliable container.
A container, I like that.
Yeah, for your thoughts and feelings. The consistency of having that specific place encourages free, judgment-free expression, which is vital, right? For honest reflection.
Gives you a sense of psychological safety, like, this is my private space.
Exactly that. Knowing you have that dedicated notebook probably makes it easier to be really open with yourself.
And Lestallion highlights how this consistent use leads to several key benefits, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First, like we said, that private judgment-free zone
Okay.
that fosters a deeper connection with your inner thoughts.
Okay.
Second, just the act of recording experiences, emotions, lessons learned, it naturally boosts self-awareness.
Right.
And maybe most powerfully, having this collection of reflections over time, you can actually track your personal growth. You can see the patterns,
Yeah.
see how your perspective evolves. It's quite amazing.
Let's dig into some of those specific features of the Lestallion journals that really support this, because it's not just any blank book, is it?
No, definitely not.
Take those 120 GSM thick pages. That sounds like a small detail, but how does that actually help with introspective writing?
Well, think about the act of writing itself, especially when you're processing deep thoughts or, strong emotions.
Yeah.
You want a surface that feels substantial, that
Yeah.
can handle your pen, maybe a marker, without bleeding through.
Okay. No distractions.
Right. The thicker pages in a Lestallion journal give that sense of quality, permanence. It makes each entry feel a bit more significant, like you're really investing in your thoughts. It's subtle, but it adds to a more focused, rewarding experience.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there are the numbered pages and the built-in table of contents. Now, this seems key for bringing order to that internal chaos we mentioned.
Yes, this is huge.
How do these features specifically help overcome those scattered thoughts?
What's so useful here is how they let you track reflections over time and, crucially, connect different entries. Numbered pages mean you can easily reference past thoughts.
Like see page 42 for more on this feeling.
Exactly. Or revisit an insight from months ago. And the table of contents. It acts like your personal index to your mind.
Your mind's index, I love that.
You can note key themes, topics, prompts you've used. It makes finding relevant entries so much easier than flipping through everything.
Right, saves a ton of time.
And it provides that structure that helps you see the evolution of your thinking on different subjects. You spot the connections.
It's like creating your own personal knowledge management system, but for your inner world. That's really powerful.
It really is.
Lestallion also includes 7.5 millimeter wide lines and dashed lined pages. How does that play in? Sounds like a balance.
It is, exactly. The lines offer a gentle framework.
Yeah.
Keeps things neat, legible, which helps when you're organizing complex thoughts.
Okay.
But the dashed lines offer more flexibility than solid ones. You can still write linearly, sure, but they also work well for diagrams, mind maps, more free-flowing stuff.
So it doesn't feel too rigid.
Right, you're not constrained. It supports different styles of reflection, which is great because not everyone reflects the same way every day.
Features tell, but stories really sell, as they say. Thinking about how these features make a difference, I'm reminded of my cousin, Emily.
Oh, yeah.
She was going through a really tough time at work, super stressed, feeling lost. Her thoughts were just a constant swirl, anxiety central.
I think many of us can relate to that feeling.
Totally. So she started using a Lestallion journal, one with the numbered pages and the table of contents.
And how did that work out for her? Did it help?
She found it incredibly helpful, actually, just in bringing some order to the chaos. She started using the table of contents to track different stress areas, deadlines, team stuff, her own career worries.
So she categorized her anxieties.
Kind of, yeah. By logging when certain things came up and then easily finding those entries later using the numbers in the index, she started seeing patterns. Patterns in her stress triggers that she just hadn't noticed before. It wasn't like an instant fix, obviously.
Of course not.
But she said it gave her a sense of observing her thoughts rather than just being swept away, like she was gaining some distance, perspective.
That's a fantastic example. It really shows how that structure can provide that sense of control and clarity when things feel overwhelming.
Yeah. And Lestallion also highlights different journaling techniques. It's not just about writing a diary entry.
Oh, no, there's a whole toolkit. They talk about stream of consciousness writing.
Just letting it all flow out.
Exactly. Or using guided prompts, practicing gratitude journaling, even things like mind mapping or narrative journaling, writing about your life as a story.
A whole range of tools for self-exploration. And again, those features like the numbered pages and the index in a Lestallion journal seem super useful for keeping all that organized.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine using guided prompts, for example. You could usually note the prompt and the date in your table of contents.
Right.
Then you can revisit your answers to similar prompts over time and see how your understanding has maybe deepened or shifted.
That's cool.
I have a friend, David, who started doing gratitude journaling in his Lestallion notebook. Because the pages were numbered, he'd sometimes just flip back through previous weeks.
What did he find?
He told me it was really impactful. Seeing the recurring things he was grateful for, it helps reinforce a more positive outlook. It made the practice feel more concrete, seeing it laid out over time.
That's a powerful way to build that positive mindset. And it's not just about emotions either, right? It can help with practical things.
Definitely.
I remember a colleague, Mark, he was working on this really complex project, felt like his ideas were just everywhere, all jumbled up.
Okay.
He started using stream of consciousness writing in his Lestallion journal. He specifically mentioned the paper quality, actually.
Ah, the 120 GSM pages again.
Yeah. He said because the paper was so good, he could just write super freely, fast, without worrying about ink bleeding or anything distracting him, just got all the raw thoughts down.
And how did that help with the actual project?
He said the act of just getting everything out, completely unfiltered, onto the paper, it actually brought this surprising clarity.
Interesting.
Once he had that raw stream of ideas down, he could go back, see the connections, and then structure his approach to the project much more effectively. The journal was like a crucial first step for brainstorming and organizing.
That's another great illustration. So we're really seeing how these features work together. The thick pages encourage free flow.
Mm-hmm.
The numbered pages and table of contents provide that essential structure for tracking and referencing.
Right, the organization.
And the lined format gives guidance without being too restrictive. It all comes back to tackling those core challenges of unstructured reflection.
The scattered thoughts, the emotional overwhelm, the lack of clarity.
Exactly. The thoughtful design of these Lestallion journals seems specifically geared towards helping us navigate those exact hurdles.
It really does. It's about moving from feeling kind of lost in your own head to gaining a genuine sense of self-awareness, of understanding, and having a tool that actively supports you on that path.
So, to sort of bring it all together, we've explored the huge benefits of introspective writing for personal growth, for mental well-being,
Yeah, the why.
and we've highlighted how a dedicated, well-designed journal notebook, like those from Lestallion, can be an incredibly valuable tool. It makes the practice more effective, more rewarding.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that by intentionally creating that trusted space for your thoughts
That container.
and using tools designed for introspection, we can move beyond just, vaguely thinking about ourselves to truly understanding ourselves, fostering that self-awareness and building a more resilient inner life.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Consider this. How might making a conscious effort to regularly engage in introspective writing, maybe with the support of a structured journal, how might that positively impact your own journey of self-discovery and personal growth?
That's a great question to reflect on, something definitely worth exploring.